And welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, December 15th, 2025 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. I'm joined in the meeting room by all of the supervisors. If you'll rise and join me in a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sign in the sheet and agendas at the back of the room. We've got a full house tonight and pretty lengthy agenda, so bear with us as we move through it all. So we're going to start off with some public comment for non-agenda items, and we'll probably go ahead and kick it off with a continuation of the public comment from our last meeting, which was on Zoom. So we'll kick it off with the continued discussion of the Lafayette Park Pavilion. Hear from the public on that. I know there's a few people in the room who want to discuss that. Then after that, we'll jump into the rest of the public comment from there. So we'll kick it off. Anyone here to talk about the Lafayette Power Park Pavilion? Yes, sir. If you would state your name, if you stand up for the
My name is Harvey Meyer, live at 87 Midway Farms Lane here in the township. They figure out I'm Corey's father. And little background, I don't come to as many meetings in person as I used to, but I do watch a vast majority of the meetings on YouTube Live. And I find them quite interesting. Like to thank Ethan and Corey for all their years of service. I know for a fact that it's not just 2 meetings a month, that there's a lot of extra hours throughout the month and a lot of things that come up in the middle of the day that they have to take care of. And it's greatly appreciated. The other thing I'd like to say is that reading minutes from other townships around the area, that this committee, this group is very pro business. And there are a lot of townships that push back from businesses that want to expand and want to make changes. And a great example is at the outlets where they've allowed them to knock down a bunch of vacant buildings and they're going to build apartments, which I think are going to be great for the township. And I think you guys are very forward looking and do a really nice job. I'd also like to congratulate Tara for her new position. I don't think there's anybody in the county that is more qualified for that job than Tara, and you guys did a great job hiring her. So one more thing I thought we could say.
It's very embarrassing.
Even though Corey recently lost his mother to Alzheimer's, he's here tonight. He's given it his all. We often talk get-togethers about things that are going on in the township, and it's amazing how much work that you guys put into this. And as a township, we really appreciate that. So
Mr. Green, resident. Ethan. Thank you, sir. Right. Words. Okay. Thank you. I hope you keep attending the meetings, after your son's not here to make it super interesting. All right. Anyone else, public comment? Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, good evening. John Flowers, 102 Strasburg Pike, former member of the Board of Supervisors. Thought I'd come out tonight, get a chance to thank Ethan and Corey for stepping up 15, 14 years ago when I asked, and you willingly stepped up, as Mike and Roger did too a couple years ago. It is a great deal of service to the community that you sit here tonight. And I want to call attention to the residents. It's wonderful to see the people in the room. Most evenings, as Ted now knows after 2 years, it's usually these guys and one or two attorneys in the room. And every time they're here, they take an interest in what the community is doing. A great deal of concern for issues in the community. I understand we're talking about Howard Park tonight, so I was glad to see that in favor as well. Giving the community an opportunity to continue to speak into issues that you deal with on a month-to-month basis. So thank you both, Ethan and Corey. Corey, I know this gentleman over here, and appreciate. Good to see you, Artie. The comments are well stated. You do give a lot, and in the midst of things going on in our families, I know each of you have children or spouses or parents, different stages of life. You give up time to be here and serve the community. East Lampeter Township wouldn't be what it was if we didn't have guys like you to step forward. So I appreciate that over many years. Serving with all of you, luck and where you guys go. Ted, Mike, Roger, new board members as well too. Keep carrying on, take us forward in the future. A lot of neat, fun issues coming up, some challenging issues, but I got faith. East Lampeter Township's in your hands. So thanks all very much.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Any additional public comment? About Lafayette Tower Park Pavilion. This is the chance if you have a comment on the park pavilion to step up and ask a question or share a comment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service, though, what you do for all of us. We really appreciate it.
State your name, Kim, for the record.
Kim Funk Mac Killigan. Kim is spelled K-Y-M if you need to know. I reside at 1834 Crystal Drive, right near Tower Park. And have I been to these meetings? No. Do I know what's going on? Usually not. So I'll be honest right there. But concern rises when something happens in our neighborhood, right up in our backyard, and I don't know about it. So there's a concern because we get kids flying on Crystal Drive, going up into the park, parking up there, hanging out. Where the pavilion is located, it's so close to neighbors' houses. We get kids walking through our yards, going up to the park. I love that they're using the park. That's great. But having a pavilion so close, there's going to be a noise issue. Yes, I think it's great to have one, but why can't we put it on the other side of the ballpark? And I heard there was an easement that's an issue, but we have stands right there. There's a pavilion, a barn there to house equipment. Why not locate those in a different place so that we can have that pavilion for those that want to do a picnic after a ballpark game, things like that, just not so close to the development itself and make it such an easy access for kids to go flying up and down the road. So that's one of my concerns. I don't know how I didn't know anything about this, because it was never made known to me until all of a sudden we saw a flag in the park as we're walking, like, wait, what is this? Until we got talking. So that is a concern that I have, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Corey, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Kim. Any other comments, questions?
Sure. Hi, my name is Dave Cody. I live at 166 Crest Avenue. I go back up to the park. I live across the street from the park. Lafayette Park is different than Hobson Road or Flory Park. It's 10 acres, 5 acres of it is taken up by a baseball field. They're going to put dugouts in, which is going to take even more space, and 2 parking lots. There's a walking trail, Corey. I've gotten to know your mother-in-law very well, walking Finn. It's a little community park. I don't see a need for a pavilion, but I'm not fighting it. The location of the pavilion doesn't seem to be the right place. It should go up in the hill. I know there's a water main easement. If you move the 2 baseball sheds, frankly, if you could get baseball to at least paint them, are in pretty poor shape to begin with. Move those beside the batting cage. I think you would have enough room. To be honest, the park is wonderfully kept and cared for. Somebody, I guess it was on a plan, just planted a tree between the bleachers down the hill and the first baseline. So the bleachers in 2 years are going to be useless anyway. You're not going to be able to see the field from the bleachers because of the tree. So move the bleachers a little bit. You can put the pavilion there. Again, this is a small neighborhood community park. If you put the pavilion down at the lower parking lot, right now the porta potty is probably one of the most used porta potties in the county. Every garbage truck, every delivery guy, FedEx guy, every lawn service uses that porta potty. It's heavily used. And the parking lot has a roundabout. They drive through, they go through the loop. There isn't one at the lower part. So all day long, we're going to hear the garbage trucks backing up, beeping, which is in somebody's backyard. And again, I don't necessarily see the need for the pavilion, but I'm not fighting it. Just move it so that the neighbors aren't inconvenienced or have at least a little consideration for the neighbors. I'll do what everybody else is doing. This is my first meeting. I recently retired. I used to work nights, so I've never been to a meeting. I appreciate the service you guys do. It's a thankless job. You pay the same tax increase everybody else pays and just get yelled at for it. I appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you.
Additional comments? Yes.
Kristen Kennedy, 1832 Crystal Drive. I frequent Tower Park. It's right in my neighborhood. The unique thing about that park, it is a residential park. So we have houses that back up. We were told when we moved in that the park was going to be developed. We moved in 2020. 2000 is when we moved in. And we told the park was going to be developed. There'll be a ball field. There was no mention. And I've looked for any kind of mention of a pavilion, and I've not perceived any kind of mention of a pavilion being put into that park. We did know about the ball field, we did know about the playground, we did know about the 2 parking areas. All of these homes back up to the park. The walking trail that's so beautifully kept goes right past these houses, where they were told that there would be trees there to create some kind of a barrier between the park. A number of those trees have died, some have not been replaced. So my concern is for my overall neighborhood. I go to East Lampeter Park a lot, take my dog there, do a run. There's 3 beautiful pavilions there. There's bathrooms up there, but those pavilions don't back up. And I think that's my biggest concern. That's a community park. It's built for the community, where Tower Park is a residential park. It was built for the residential area with the draw of the baseball fields, but not for the use of the whole community. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any additional comments from anyone on the pavilion? We have a little more information that we've gathered. Tara, if you maybe want to walk through a little bit of what we've gathered, and we also have our police chief here as well. I know some folks had raised some issues or questions about crimes. We pulled the stats for the last couple of years for all our parks, including Tower Park. And Derek, you want to walk through that?
That's right. Chief Zerby to actually address those facts because he personally pulled those. So from January of 2023 through current, correct, Chief? Okay. And at Lafayette Park, you found 27 calls.
That's right. So from January of 2023 until I believe I compiled this about 4 weeks ago for you, gentlemen. 27 calls total in just about 3 full years at Lafayette Park. There were no arrests made out of those 27 calls, but there were 3 citations issued. Of the 27 calls, 24 of them were founded, meaning that when officers arrived to handle the nature of the call, they were able to substantiate that what the complaint was that they received, actually something did occur. And then 3 of them being unfounded. Provided you a breakdown of a variety of call types. Disorderly conduct, disturbance, dog law violations, drug offense, found property, information, noise complaint, parking complaint, suspicious activity, trespassing, and vandalism. Most of those were single calls with the exception of suspicious activity. There were 8 of those, 3 trespassings, 2 dog law, 2 disturbance, 4 disorderly conduct. And again, 3 of them resulting in citations.
And then at Community Park and Florida Park, where we have pavilions, total number of calls related to the pavilions.
Yes, so Flory Park, where we had 97 calls in those same 3 years, 16 of those 97 had something to do with the pavilion in. And with Hobson Park, where we had 73 calls in those 3 years, 1 of the calls was associated with the pavilion. I understand the community has some concerns over the pavilion, its erection, its location, things of that nature. And obviously that's your purview to decide. I will say on a positive note, the pavilions do provide a place for the township to mount surveillance cameras. And those surveillance cameras and the footage they record have been instrumental in solving some of the issues that we deal with in the parks and outside the parks subsequently. So that.
Chief, any reaction, we'll go back to Lafayette, of those different calls that you've had, and many of them were founded, how many were involving a vehicle? Like in other words, people that have driven there, because we did have some feedback at the last meeting about that maybe, driving and people driving tonight a little bit driving, but anything on that?
I'm sure that some of them involved a vehicle. I didn't actually break that piece out, but I would venture to say of your suspicious activity calls, of which we have 8, I would say at least better than 50% of those probably involve a vehicle.
Okay.
Your trespassing typically is 1 foot, but that doesn't mean it couldn't have involved a vehicle. If somebody would have driven their vehicle onto the park grounds and created, some kind of damage, but that would have been a disorderly conduct and or some type of property crime. So,
okay.
Chief, are those cameras live feeds being recorded or both?
So they are live feed. I know that we are able to see them live. As far as them being recorded, I can't say that their footage is constantly recorded, but I can tell you it is capable of being recorded. And in terms of how long those recordings would be kept, whether overwritten, those would all be based on obviously IT factors, as in storage space and other settings and stuff like that.
They actually start recording when they detect motion.
So that's what I was going to, so it's motion.
How long they're archived, how long? The 90 days, we don't, I'm sure their settings.
There are settings of which I do not know.
Okay. Any more questions for Steve? Thank you for pulling that data.
Not Chief, but for staff. So the options of where where it's currently located on the plan, right? Compared to where else it could be located.
So the engineer actually did look at, but I think Mr. Cody said the hill, right? You called it the hill. Right. So that was looked at as a possibility, and then the engineer found that there would be conflicts with the easement in that area, the water easement, which is City of Lancaster water. And then there were other options looked at closer to Crest Avenue. There's the piece of property that's directly adjacent to the entrance. And that was found that it would take up almost that entire area there. And there are sewer connections for the dwelling as well as water connection demolished in somewhere between 2003 and 2004.
One of the questions we had was the original idea for the pavilion. Did some research on that.
So the original idea for the pavilion was actually on a master plan from 1997 for Lafayette Park. It was a pavilion with restroom and with maintenance.
Okay, I asked where that was located.
Was located in
Except the master plan, where was the pavilion located?
the pavilion. At that point in time, it would have been a different layout of the park. Right.
So the master plan is pretty much shot anyway,
But the whole idea is that there was an intent to have a pavilion.
but the master plan from 1997 is moved.
I think it had 2 baseball fields in that park.
Did the engineers look at the area where the 2 decrepit baseball sheds are? Or did they just kind of ignore that part because there are 2 sheds there that?
Yeah, that area was not generally looked at as a possibility because the township has an agreement with Conestoga Valley. They're permitted to have those sheds there.
I'm not asking you to make it be moved though, beside the batting cage. Opening up land there.
That would be at the cost of Conestoga Valley Baseball Association.
So there's potential if,
That hasn't been looked at through the engineer.
Yeah.
So the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, and the Park Board all looked at the land development for this pavilion. The Park Board looked at this at least 3 times, the Planning Commission twice, and the Board of Supervisors at least once. Not only did, as it went through approvals, in addition, the Board of Supervisors discussed where the location as well as the installation of the pavilion at 2 public budget workshops in 2024 for the 25 budget.
Is it normal to discuss pavilion locations and budget workshops?
It's normal to discuss a whole lot of different things.
Not difficult to understand how the community might have missed the budget workshop meeting.
Well, there were 2 budget workshops, and then there was a Board of Supervisors meeting that it was approved at, 2 Planning Commission meetings at which the Planning Commission discussed and approved, recommended approval of it, and then Park Board meetings throughout the year.
Has everybody seen the location of where the pavilion is?
They have.
Been out there? Okay.
I'm one of the community members who
Sure.
comes to the park frequently with my kids and parks there.
No, I've seen it, absolutely.
We go to all the parks. We're a park family.
Do you ever, I guess the question I have is, did you ever survey any of the owners of the homes that back up there to say, hey, how do you feel about this? Yeah, okay, you make meetings of public, I understand that, but if it's a planning meeting, I'm like, oh, I don't know that I need to go to that. But did you ever think of surveying those people that would be directly impacted beforehand?
We did not survey the individuals near the park.
Was any kind of sign ever posted on the bulletin board in the park?
No sign was ever posted on the bulletin board in the park.
I think to answer your question, ma'am, I would have never thought anything but it was going to be a positive, that people could use it. I mean, honestly, I would not think that way. It didn't ever cross. I don't think any of the board members' minds that this would be something that, because we're kind of thinking about, we have a recreational director now, we have programs that have been going on. Here's another location in the township where we could bring that closer to a very large development that's, on the other side of the hill. People can have picnics, picnic after ball games, Little League. But I certainly understand that, the worry about it. That's why we wanted Chief to talk about it and see, really what is the trend in something like that. I also think that's partly why we have a dedicated Parks Committee, that they would really think about those things. I mean, if there was something that came up with any of those other pavilions, like, hey, maybe that's not a good idea, it would seem like it would be discussed at that, because that's really the central job.
I haven't heard anybody really say, we don't want a pavilion. They just don't want it in that location.
Yeah, I mean, the two locations are by the parking lots, and the one is, we've got an easement there, because there's a big water tower, which makes it.
Yeah, the other one, you can drive around the parking lot, those one, the garbage trucks are gonna be backing out 4 days a week.
I don't know, the frequency of the garbage trucks there. I mean, I can only speak from my personal perspective. I have a house that backs up to Flory Park. I have a creek there too, but I have the noise of the, very rarely do I have noise from the pavilion. Mostly it's the noise of the Little League, and the clink of the metal bats late at night, but I'm perfectly fine with the clink of the metal bats, even though my kids are already asleep by the time they're still playing. And I know Roger also backs up to a park. I've rented a pavilion myself for parties, for my kids. So it is a place to go if, hey, not everyone has a large house where they can fit, 50, 60 people. So the pavilions get used. They get used very frequently, and it's usually by residents of having parties, a lot of birthday parties, fundraisers. I've been to a lot of different ones. We held a fundraiser at Lafayette Tower Park a few years ago for the fire company. We did the 0.5K, which was the race for the rest of us. So that's sort of just.
It's planned.
Pardon?
It's only for about 90 people.
That's correct. 95 is the max.
And 20 parking spaces or
30.
at that lower level?
Yes.
Okay. But it's strictly pull out.
Mhm.
In I'm sorry, our public works garbage truck versus when we clean out and clean up after weekends that are parties, reserve parties and so forth with the township. What are the public works folks using as they pick up the garbage and so forth? Pickup truck, okay. I mean, the idea that a beeping, I understand exactly what you mean about garbage. There's no large dumpster next to the plant.
Not yet.
Location.
Not at that
A
location.
few trash cans, right? Is there a trash can?
There's a dumpster at the upper parking lot that is now where the porta potty is, and it's actually place for the porta potty all over anymore. But I think people in the neighborhood and beyond were using the dumpster.
The bigger concern is Crystal Drive is already a straight up, that's just gonna cause even more traffic in a residential area. It's nice when you could pull in up at that upper lot park. The park's not involved, our neighborhood's not involved at all. Now you're gonna have people Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons. You're talking 90 people. Now you're saying 30 cars could come through there. That's the only way to get to that. Well, not just Crystal, but through the development. You're now increasing that traffic exponentially if they rent out the park and you have 30 cars coming through.
And just to preview, maybe 5 years from now, I actually thought it happened 10 years ago. There's a residential development to the east of the Glicks, right, on Crystal Avenue. That land.
That was Sawyer Farm.
Yes. That land has been R2 for how long? 30 years. It's gonna get built at some point. Crystal Drive It's going to be, a road to get from Lincoln Highway to Millport, right? So just a heads up, I'm giving you full transparency now before I'm gone. There's a lot of land right there
That will most likely be developed,
Yep.
and it will be a thoroughfare there. I did a little bit of research on, all right, is there any correlation in any documentation of do pavilions increase them at all? The only thing I could find is they decrease it, which is they're lit up at night and there's security cameras.
Lights.
Lights at night.
Now, they're not, right, I would recommend go visit another park, or just drive past one on the way home if you want. But yeah, there's lights, and then there's security cameras at the parks. They're not usually running 24/7. That's,
Well, we need a light at noon, but
yeah. So, but the big one there is the more people use the park, the less crime there's in the park. So I think what my perspective is, and I think the Parks Board shares this, is we want our facilities that are paid for by all the taxpayers to benefit the entire community. And just because a park is underutilized now, doesn't mean we should keep it that way. The goal is we've got a parking lot that'll hold that many cars. We built that so that people could park there and use the park. So the goal should be, how do we get more people to use the park, not less?
10-acre park dominated by a 5-acre ball field is utilized. It's not underutilized. And it's not necessarily by the neighborhood. Plenty of people walk and the neighborhood uses it. And we're not fighting the pavilion, we're fighting the location.
Yeah, that's one of the struggles is like when I'm looking at the architectural drawing, but with the idea of what we've looked at, it's hard to see where could you move it without disruption.
We have two other parks that have pavilions that can utilize 95 people.
You're putting this in the backyard rather than up against the fire hall that.
If you made the pavilion smaller, would it fit in that spot that would be optimal for a pavilion?
And as we do these developments, obviously there's engineers involved in taking into account utilities and
Yeah, I'm sure
water.
you looked at the 95 person, but it would benefit. Yeah, have that or a smaller pavilion that would fit in an area that's not backing up. Our house is one of the houses that backs up right to Crystal. We love the park, activity. I don't feel like we should have anything right up next to somebody's house if we can not.
One of the pieces here is we're already in, this isn't the, hey, we're thinking about this stage. We've already spent money and budgeted money for this. We've already spent money prior to this piece and all of this was budgeted in the previous year to do.
Spent about $30,000 in land development plans and stormwater plans that have been approved by the Board of Supervisors and recommended by the Planning Commission for approval. And you're right, there's a bill on the agenda for the underground utilities for this pavilion.
I think one of the agreements was with the Baseball Association, that they have some dugouts they want to put in.
That's
And we
right.
can do the planning and development and we'll help them by doing that all together and we'll pay for it. Just as a kind of a partnership with them. So they have development plan for dugouts, they're going to put in, they're going to pay for it. And at the same time, we did the development for the pavilion.
The park has pretty much been dedicated to the baseball. That's what dominates the park. Can we give a little bit to the community? I mean,
That's why we were thinking putting up a pavilion.
To be honest with you, that's what I would say.
It's nice to know, so we could have said, hey, think about the person that lives in that house, because now you're saying lights in the pavilion, now you're talking light. And now it's becoming that they could use it, I thought parks closed at dusk. So then there's no need for lighting.
Except for when there's a baseball game.
Against a really kind of like, it's a calendar. I just really wish, it sounds like it's a done deal. I just wish there would have been more thought, especially to those of us that are in that neighborhood. And if there's dugouts going in, you already have that set up with the Little League or with CV, why not talk with them about moving hey, can you put the sheds and we can put the pavilion there? I mean, then it's all right there. And it's not near the homes.
I realize we have an outstanding bill. I realize we have a lot of work already, but my recommendation would be to at least wait for the 2 new supervisors to come on and have them be a part of the decision. But at this point, if we do it, I'd rather it be either smaller or on the north side.
Again, you planted a tree in the sight line between the bleachers and first base anyway. So the bleachers are gonna be useless in 3 years. Trees down the hill, so once the leaves are out, you're not gonna be able to see them, so you're gonna have to move the bleachers anyway. Or they're just useless.
Do you know if that's been brought up with the Parks Committee?
They just planted this fall 2 trees
Right.
on the first base side, down the embankment between the walkway and the fence for the ball field. So the 2 dominant places where the CV fans sit are gonna be blocked by trees. So.
I appreciate your comment, Corey. Thank you.
One conclusion I'll come away with is we gotta start coming to these parks meetings.
They're all still on the internet.
Or apparently the budget be.
Well, to back us up, we make thousands of decisions a year.
Oh, absolutely.
It's point. I thought this was a great, this was a great thing as well. So, but
And it was discussed about, potential polling of, local residents, but if we polled every resident where we had a project coming in, we would need, 3 full-time staff for that.
So I understand that.
In a way to be more transparent as a township, prior to being involved in the township, I didn't read notices. Who has time for that? So I would love to see something on our website or something that impacts regions of our township where you sign up and get a notice or something, so and you're aware and you can come to these meetings. We want people at our meetings. We do. It's boring when we're sitting here by ourselves. We want this conversation, and I appreciate all your civility. So thank you. I understand where you're coming from. I am going to aim to try to be more transparent as well, to get more information out to the public when we can. So.
I mean, your idea about potentially using the newsletter and or the website to let people know this is coming around, whether or not you live there or not, at least people are aware of it and could comment on it without having to hit every meeting just to make sure that something's not going to neighborhoodly compliance. Thank you for.
I think enough of us walk that loop because we do love that park at Wildcat. I look at that bulletin board, always like, oh, what's new on here? It's like, I think it is.
I think it's been.
Here. Yeah.
Right. So board discussion. The general, if we're gonna do if the board wants to pause, then we could pull out of the budget. Now, it also throws off, it's like you're pausing, or you have to reopen the budget for next year, because our budget's we're also approving the budget tonight.
Which does not include any funding for this pavilion.
This was budgeted previously.
But it is possible to reopen the budget, and I mean, the money's not spent yes, we still have money already spent. But the board could reopen the budget at some point in the future.
What are your thoughts, gentlemen? Do you say the cow's halfway out of the barn, we let it all the way out, or do we shut the door? And the other big one is, what information would we need to have in order to make it? Because from where I sit, it's one of The Parks Board and staff and the engineers are the ones who plan and figure out where can we put this. They have the discussion. We get their approved plan and then we say, all right, yes, we trust that board and group of people to come up with the best location for this. We're not sitting around looking at plans going, oh, where should we put a building in a park? That's not what this board does. So it's more of, do we send it back to that group and say, try again, go through the whole process again, and maybe come up with the same solution that they did. It's more of, did they miss something? Do we think they missed something?
Has the park board heard any of this feedback directly from neighbors?
Not at a park board meeting.
Okay. Okay. I'm assuming you haven't reached out to any friends or family that are on park boards or?
I reached out to Troy.
Okay.
I did send him my petition.
Yeah. Okay.
There, can you go over the ramifications? Should we pause or should we move? Obviously, I know what happens if we move forward. We have upset residents, which nobody wants, but civil. But we also don't want to waste additional township money. We want to be smart with this. So what kind of money are we talking if we need to re-engineer stormwater? If we did in fact reduce the size of the pavilion and move it to that location, if it would fit there?
So a good portion of that has been completed, and so it would be looking at a new location. It would be recording new plans, redesigning potentially stormwater. So I mean, this is a guess because I'm not an engineer, but I'm going to guess about half of what you've already spent. Yeah.
With the plans to redo the dugouts would that have to stop and wait as
Stop as well. Yes,
to all of their work they're prepping to do, they have to put on hold,
that's correct.
potentially wait until we update, because we'd have to update the whole stormwater plan.
The whole plan would have to be updated, would have to be recorded before they could start any work.
I would suggest connecting with CV, Little League or whatever, their CV Baseball Association as well, and update them on where we're at as well, because clearly they expect that a project's moving along and it's not, or potentially not.
We already planned, budgeted and spent the money. We would have to go through again.
Yeah.
Plan, budget, then spend the money again. Hopefully less money, but you'd be spending the same money twice to do the same thing.
When's the next parks meeting?
The fourth Wednesday in January.
My recommendation would be to wait until that meeting and go back to the park board. Either the neighbors directly can share their feedback or staff, or they can watch the video from today and from last Friday and hear the direct feedback from the neighbors and see if they have solutions or ideas.
Where are we at with design of the pavilion? Is this?
So the plan's recorded, the pavilion is on order. The concrete pad is ready to be poured with when temperatures are right. Ground utilities are ready to be dug.
Because that's our bill tonight is for the utility boring. Is that also boring out to where the dugouts would be?
They would have no utility. Just to the pavilion.
The other item in this whole construction minutes is that Clark Associates agreed in lieu of the park fee of 16,000, and they're going to pay for the pavilion structure, construction, project management in lieu of a $16,000 park fee. So that would be at risk.
Could be.
Could be.
I don't want to speak for them.
Right.
could be at risk.
You know, the one real piece that we're facing now, as my colleagues are leaving, is that we're deficit spending and we have to keep tightening the belt and figuring out, you know, I hate the fact that money will be wasted if we don't go forward. And I know it went through that. It's like, you just can't help it, you know, oh man, it's a shame that we maybe didn't understand this and yes, you know, I totally understand how you use the newsletter. I fully would have expected after it was done, we'd have this beautiful picture of it and everybody would know, oh, there's pavilions here. And to kind of predict that it would be a controversial issue, but it is what it is. I just, spending more money and wasting money that's already been done, that's a hard pill to swallow, knowing what we have to do.
In my opinion, if the board chooses to pause, it's not gonna get on pause for a while. The speed at which things do move it's a long, slow build to get to here, stop and then try to restart that process when you're looking at another budget next year. So
I would agree with Mike. I mean, the money is committed, the money is spent. Things are really far along this process. I respect where you're coming from as well. But, you know, being on the board for the next 3 years and understanding with our deficit spending, we have to make wise decisions with, you know, taxpayer funds. And you have an opportunity to have a building like this donated. I think it makes sense that we did spend the funds to get to this point. But if we have to spend additional funds, it might not work.
Smaller pavilion on that same site. Assuming we'd still have to go through additional engineering and planning and so forth. Anything different than what we on the recorded plan.
And forgive me if I'm misreading that, but I was thinking you're saying, hey, a smaller one somewhere else, not in the same spot.
Ideally, yeah.
Like it would be the same issue, wouldn't it? And if it was 50 or 90 people where it is now, I think the same issues you're saying would be there.
Potentially the parking could be a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Considering there's only 30 spaces, there's 90 people, 95 coming.
I mean, they can't you park in the other parking lot, but
They don't.
They won't jump.
So the upper, single car on the floor.
I see that all the time.
So the parking into the neighborhood is double parking on the driveway into the park.
In that intersection.
I've also rarely ever seen a pavilion at max capacity in all my times at a park, so. That's the max capacity with a lot of kids running around. All right, I think we're ready to move along. So I need a year of sort of before we hit the consent agenda, we're pulling this out of the budget for tonight and trying to put the brakes on it and relook at it in the new year without Corey and I, or today. We're gonna keep rolling and we think it'll still be a good asset to the park. Or as is, we trust the Parks Board to have figured out that this is the best spot and size.
you know, it would be easy to convince me if we had really hard evidence that, hey, you really got to be careful when you put a pavilion in because it can create all these other things. I mean, with all respect to what's been said, it is a bit of speculation that, well, this will lead to a problem. It might not. It might be a wonderful addition.
I've already counted 7 kids coming out of the porta potty smoking pot. I mean,
So you think that this will make it worse?
I could give them a different place to go rather
One
than.
place to hide, one place to sit. Even the dugouts are like, you know.
Well, parks in general do have a negative side. No matter where the park is, I do think people come and.
Chief's got to come.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I'm not belittling. How many of you pick up the phone and call? Okay, 1. You see the kids doing X, see the kids doing Y, see them doing Z. How many pick up the phone? Call the police. I can tell my guys. We want to take care of the problems and we will take care of the problems. We have to know them.
some dog waste bags, some used condoms, something. I've done that. Because I didn't want those to be around kids.
Definitely get more people coming to the parks meeting. You know, seriously, these things need to be heard and understood. I'm sorry, I don't live near there, but you know, that would certainly be concerning to me, and I would hope people would report that.
Preference is to pull it off the agenda. I might be in the minority, but I'm gonna put it on the table.
What do you think, Roger?
Agenda for a vote.
Okay. We want to pull that item up for a separate vote or?
Sure.
Okay. We will pull that, I think we can do that. We'll pull that out of the consent agenda in approval for invoices. That's like line item of that invoice.
I don't.
Seven, 4946 in the invoice. So. Do the consent agenda, we'll vote on that one separately.
If I can ask the chief, you call 911 every time there's a car parked up there. That's the number we call.
There's a non-911 number, 664-1180, and
We call it.
you call 664-1180?
Township got to ask for the police non-emergency number.
No, it's a township number. This is the normal 717 number. If 911 wasn't working, it's always working. 717-664-1180. Get a dispatcher answer the phone. 1180. Yeah. Central dispatch, and you'll talk to the dispatcher. But you're not doing it through the 911 line, and you're telling me what I got going on, and dispatch an officer to come out. They'll be there as quickly as they can. And we have an point with car parking overnight, lights out, that kind of stuff. Okay, so now I can tell my shifts, hey, between these hours, let's have a marked call, call for any, let's be there. Let's be there when they're coming and going and.
Can you share, is there a patrol car that regularly comes through our parks at designated time?
No. That's way too small of police department to have that kind of dedicated service that we're hitting you at the same time, so days a week. But I can all these officers are aware of where the problem places are. That's where they're going to go. An example would be some of our overnight institutions on Route 30. These guys know that certain days of the week, certain hours of the day, you patrol their parking lots. Why? Because there's drug sales going on. They make arrests and they're very good at it. That's what's going on in one of our parks. And we make a point and we start showing up.
I appreciate that. I did not even know that number.
All right. So before we move on to the consent agenda, if we're done on the Pavilion Park discussion, any other public comment for non-agenda items before we move on with the rest of the agenda tonight? Any comments coming from online? All right. With that, we will move on to our first item on the official agenda, which is our consent agenda. All of these are written out in the agenda with detail. So I'm not going to read through them all, but we've got items A through K. You've got approval of minutes, security reductions, and then approval to pay invoices for all funds except for the one for $45,620.84 to House Real for boring of underground utilities. We will vote on that one separately after the consent agenda. So does everyone understand the consent agenda is items A through K minus that one item for the utilities? So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion
Go ahead.
to approve the consent agenda items A through K with the exception of the pay to House Real to the evening.
Second. A motion by Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Meyer. Any public comment on the motion? Board comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Now we have that one item from item K, which is $45,620.84 to House EL. That's all for that item. I'll entertain a motion to approve that invoice item.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice item $45,620.84 to House Hill for the boring of the underground utilities for the Lafayette Park.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rutt. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? One opposed. Motion passes. All right, item 6 on our agenda. One part of the job. Get to swear in 2 new police officers. So you're welcome to stick around. You can meet 2 new members of East Lampeter Township's finest. Do the introductions and I'll do the honors.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. If I could call up Mr. Chad Irwin and Mr. Noah. My second left, we have Mr. Chad Irwin. Chad was born and raised here in Lancaster County. He's a Hempfield High School graduate. He's also a graduate of Westchester University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And he has passed all of our background phases, and he is ready to be sworn in and ready to begin the police academy January 12th. To my immediate left, we have Mr. Noah Clem. Noah was born and raised in Reston, Virginia, graduated from Tuscarora High School in Leesburg, Virginia. Also graduated from the University of West Virginia with a bachelor's degree in exercise science. And he comes to us after having served over 4 years as a police officer with the city of Wilmington, North Carolina. So we are very pleased and happy to have both of these gentlemen joining the police department tonight. With that, I'll turn it over.
Thank you. Do this together. Start. I'll read a line and you can repeat after me, following along. First one's always the hardest because you're both going to say your names. So, I state your name, being a duly appointed police officer at East Lampeter Township in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. No, everyone being a duly appointed police township in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the ordinance of East Lampeter Township.
Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the ordinances of East Lampeter Township.
That I will serve the citizens honestly and faithfully by discharging the duties of my office with honor and fidelity.
That I will serve the citizens honestly and faithfully by discharging the duties of my office with honor and fidelity.
I will perform all of my duties as a police officer in accordance with the law, and I will obey orders and conduct myself at all times in accordance with the rules and regulations set forth by the department.
I will perform my duties as a police officer in accordance with the law, and I will obey orders and conduct myself at all times in accordance with the rules and regulations set forth by the department.
I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without any consideration of class, color, creed, condition, race, sex, age, sexual orientation, national origin, or ancestry, handicap or disability, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities.
I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without any consideration of class, color, creed, condition, race, sex, age, sexual orientation, national origin, or ancestry, handicap or disability, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
This family that you'd like to introduce you tonight?
I have my father, Dan, over there, my mother, Erin, my wife, Olivia, and my wife's sister, Sophia, and her fiance, Joe, and their newest member of the family, Allie.
Chad, would you like to introduce your parents?
I just got my mom, Katrina, and my dad, Greg.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. We honor your service and all of your other fellow police members, but also your families are the ones who really make this possible, sacrifices their time, the long nights, worrying about you, but we appreciate the job you do to keep our neighbors safe and my kids safe, and thank you very much for joining our team. Would you like to say anything, Supervisor? No, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
All right. We've got more openings. If anyone has a friend who wants to be a police officer, speak to chief. All right, you're welcome to stick around. It's going to get just way more exciting, but if you want to. You.
Thank you, Jerry.
I guess we can move on to item 7. I think Mr. Thornton is going to take over.
Yeah. So this next item, item 7, on our agenda is recognition of our outgoing 2 supervisors, Ethan Demi and Corey Meyer. So I'd ask them to come out here in the front for a moment. We've already started with some of the comments from on these 2 gentlemen, but and I think John was there. So John was the guy always kind of convincing us, of the jobs here. I'm not sure how much he had to do that with these 2 gentlemen back in the day, but if you know anything about them, they are so involved in the committee. They've been, in the community and serving on many committees, not only in our township, but in many ways, and be too many to list right now because they've just been involved in so much that are interconnected with our community, our townships. They certainly have. They've served at a statewide level. They've served for all of the major initiatives over the last 12 years. Both of them have 12 years of dedicated service to us, numerous committees, the initiatives, projects, the things that, and of course Ralph is here and all that time of his tenure, they were key people in that. So now we have plaques for them from the township. They also have recognition from the Pennsylvania Association of Township Supervisors, which, recognizes a conference and they both recognize him for 12 years of service. So at this time, put a big round of applause for Brian. I'd like to read their plaques, so I'll start with Ethan. So this presented to Ethan Demi in recognition and grateful appreciation for outstanding service to East Lampeder Township, having served as a member of the East Lampeder Township Board of Supervisors from January 2014 to January 2026, and the Industrial and Commercial Development Authority from January 2017 to December 2025, and the Emergency Services Committee from January 2017 to January 2023, for a total of 12 years of service, presented this 15th day of December 2025 by the Board of Supervisors of East Lampeder Township. Very impressive. And now Corey, presented to Corey Meyer in recognition and grateful appreciation for outstanding service to East Lampeder Township, having served as a member of the East Lampeder Township Board of Supervisors from January 2014 to January 2026, and the Industrial and Commercial Development Authority from January 2017 to January 2024, and the Emergency Services Committee from January 2016 to January 2020, for a total of 12 years of service, presented this 15th day of December 2025 by the Board of Supervisors of East Lampeter Township.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Comments, Joe?
Sure. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve my neighbors. Biggest thing I learned coming into this was how many people are involved, both from a staff standpoint and volunteers. Probably over 100 people total, just involved in the township operation in these various committees. I've learned from all of the people and all from Planning Commission to the Parks Board to the Emergency Services Committee. From staff members, people are probably out salting and plowing roads as we speak tonight. We've got police officers riding around. There's firefighters going to calls. Self-government is difficult, but it's worth it. And I appreciate all the people that I've met and learned from in this job. And it's been an honor to serve, and I serve with Corey and all the people in this room.
Thank you, Ethan. First, thank my wife and my son, Peyton, and my dad for being here. I'm usually asleep by 8 o'clock. And touch knows the Eagles are playing. I definitely want to be home by 8 o'clock. So, but yeah, thank you for all staff and fellow supervisors, and of course my family. So thanks again, and look forward to staying connected to the township and seeing great things over the next couple of years. Thank you.
Randy.
Out of order. I apologize for that, but with your permission, I'd like to add my personal thanks to Ethan and Corey for their service to my tenure. Always appreciated the opportunity to work with you and to wish all of you the happiest of holidays and a wonderful New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
And it's on the agenda, so public comment on agenda items is definitely in order. All right. We have no old business for item 8, so we're moving right along to new business. Starting with 9A, 2025-14, Constable Valley Fritz Elementary Land Development Plan, 845 Corning Road. Is there some?
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Schuster with K&W Engineers. I'm looking at Ken Johnson. We're here for the Fritz Elementary School Land Development Project. Be happy to answer any questions on the project itself, but in short, it's essentially a building addition, parking lot improvements, playgrounds improvements, as well as a salon. At this point, we have worked back and forth with DMA, and the PC member in place, all their concern, and even on our plan revisions that remain. We did present them last week, got their recommendation for additional approval. There was one item that I want to mention that I do not believe was discussed at the PC last night, and an additional waiver that we would like to ask for. If you have DMA letter, if not, I'm going to do this comment. Subdivision land development comment number 7. DMA is stating that a waiver from section 368.505.f is requested due to the location of the site. We have a proposed sidewalk that runs south along the street along Cornegg Road. The sidewalk we have shown routes away from the roadway for a portion of the length of it. It's due to the guide rail that's along that roadway and the steep slope. We have the sidewalk just positioned at the base of that slope before it ties back into the property corner. Other than
No issue with the pedestrian.
we can discuss that waiver with DMA and they have no problem with that. So other than that additional waiver, we are perfectly fine with the PDSD with the conditions that the PC members. For reference, that's the project. Be happy to answer any questions.
One of the concerns, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
One of the concerns that the planning commission had was parking in general for the site, not just on a daily basis, but when there's events. And so can you just walk the board through where
This is our existing property as it is right now. So we have some parking spaces out in the front loop there. And then we have the majority run along the north side of the property. Off that entrance, there's a little bit of a loop there right in front of the gymnasium entrance, and then it goes back to our. So, major change going on in here, so trying to get to the next slide then.
I'm sorry, if you go one more, it should be a little more zoom.
Okay. I'll put a little bit more, or we'll get to it then. So in the front, what we're doing is we're taking off the spaces from the loop itself and actually putting an island type line out there. So when the buses come in, there's no actual cars interfering with the bus that may be on that loop. We've had that instance on occasion that just caused problems. And then, so there's spaces out here for visitors. There'll be a few reserved spaces, probably maybe the principal, the principal's assistant, and then handicap spaces around the front. And then up on the north side, we've done some realignment, so the parking is lining up more with the property line and as opposed to necking in like it used to. And then creating more of a receiving area and drop off area. Still have a drop off there at the gymnasium entrance, but we've gained some spaces along here. Some of those will be dedicated for staff and also custodians and the food service. And then the parking area in the rear of the building stays the same. We're not making any changes. So if you can scroll upwards, downwards, I never know which way to tell somebody. So what we're doing is the playground area is here. So this is where that guardrail runs along Horning. So there's currently a playground structure. There's a little bit of a paved area. So we're removing that playground equipment and placing it back here inside the U shape of the building. It's a lot safer area for especially the kindergartens and first graders that are using that. So, and it's keeping them away from where that guardrail is. That's a big concern. So what we're doing is then adding on parking in this area. We had originally shown going out to this line. Since the planning commission meeting, we've extended that beyond that, gained another 16 spaces, I believe.
Another 16.
So, yeah. And then there's like in the upper part, the handicap spaces were located like in that very back parking lot. We've relocated them up closer to the entrance for the gymnasium as well. So we've also been discussing signage about where to enter, where parent pickup is, where drop off is, visitor parking. And then for event parking, I think we can get an additional 11 cars along along the curb line there of the bus loop.
Yeah, one of the PC's concerns were talking about parking cars that park along that roadway. So we pretty much maxed out the site for the amount of spaces we can fit, but what we showed was an additional 11 spaces that can be utilized along that curb line when buses aren't going to be using the site for event parking. So we're trying to squeeze in parking any locations we can. Those won't be striped themselves, just depiction. Vehicles can use this curb line if needed.
And the basketball court, maybe 3 or 4 years, stay on the lower back end.
The playground area to the rear basketball area, that all stays.
The timeline again?
Timeline, looking to start construction next summer after we move Leola back to their permanent home, and then we'll move Fritz down here to the old Smoketown, current temporary Leola. And the plan is to renovate the building unoccupied. So less disruption on students, staff, all of that. So
School year?
Yeah. 2 school years.
2 school years. So
yeah, the reality is with lead times on everything right now, and it's been, we've had struggles with switchgear, chillers, you name it. It takes longer to get than what they tell you.
Fritz will be at the old Smoketown.
Fritz will be at the old.
2 years. So 26, 27.
Are you asking?
To the existing Fritz, just a minor addition to the one classroom wing.
Yeah, you can see that playground's located within it. There's a minor building addition just south. There's a little grade, it's just.
That would have been the addition that was added like in a 4 or 5, when the addition was put on, so it's just a small expansion of that. We're planning about 18 months of construction, so, but we'll keep the students out for 2 full school years. So.
We all need to give my social security. Not me at this meeting.
It's a 2-hour.
Yes, good.
Following up for a second.
Well,
Give us your social security number if you'd like. We'll put it to good use.
Any other questions for the applicant? So what good, conditional approval based off of the December 5th PMA letter?
Make a motion to approve the land development plan at 845 Hamlet Road. That's 2025-14, Concord Valley School District, Fritz Elementary, or Fritz Elementary, according to the DNA letter and details we talked about tonight.
Second. By Mr. Thorne, second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment or discussion? Board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Wonderful.
You got you too.
Going to 2-hour delay.
Yeah, no, that's not for me.
9B, 2025-18, Jonathan Andrews Stormwater Management Plan, 2070 Creek Hill Road.
Meet y'all. I'm the current park board president for New Holland. Place. But yeah, my wife and I bought the property in October 2024. Build our dream home. Awesome township. And so we want to do everything by the book, do everything right. And so we're putting on an addition on the back. Removing the existing patio and steps and terrace and adding a circular driveway. And current stormwater and a future proposed pool, which will probably be. I'm been seeing the project myself, so it's my first stormwater plan, so it's been great to work with, and he's happy with the revisions that we put in. I just have to get the Amendment 5 O&M agreements notarized and filled out.
December 2nd review.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made it. She sent the latest plan this morning, so I have to send it back to him. And he said it looks good. He should come up with the original letter. So basically, just have to. We're looking to break ground in March, so about an 8-month construction timeline. So hopefully by next Christmas. My oldest boy is 4. Looking forward to their fits. One more lease for them.
All right, so yeah, we've got the DMA letter December 2nd. We've got the estimate in there as well. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the 2025-18 Jonathan Andrews plan at 2070 Creek Hill Road, conditional approval based on the township engineer review letter dated December 2nd, 2025.
Mr. What? Comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Good luck with the project. Join our parks board the next few years.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Why? Two parks that we gotta worry about, so.
That name.
All right, next we have item 9C, 2025-29, Ronks Auto Waiver Land Development Plan at 2790 Lincoln Highway East.
I'm Barb Huber, from Harlan. I feel like I've wandered into the wrong meeting. You guys are talking about huge pavilions and I was kind of adding up the numbers for that financial, it's like $1 million. And we would have put a wooden shed in property.
But 8x12.
I feel like we're wasting your.
Storms, like snow, things like that. We're taking care of the property.
Be a surface that already exists.
Awesome. So we're just looking at a waiver of land development.
Weavers already went through zoning hearing board and got approval for expansion of a non-conforming use. The last step.
And the planning, so we're learning a lot.
Yeah, this is my first time doing something like this, so learning a lot. Going on.
Way too complicated.
Right.
Yeah. But we gotta work for the state too, so, all right. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the waiver of land development.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver for Ronks Road Auto Sales and Service LLC. Not sure what your address is, but 2790 Lincoln Highway. And the waiver was predicated on a wooden shed over top of impervious surface already, so we're not adding to the water runoff. Second that.
All right, motion by Mr. Russ, second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the motion passes. One big shed.
That learning in the officers was really, I'm gonna keep my eye out now. Because you publish the agenda.
Yeah, show up for that one in the future. We're gonna have more of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right, 9D, zoning text amendment discussion. My favorite time of the year.
So I want to be talking to you guys a little bit here today about looking at doing a comprehensive zoning ordinance amendment. So I'll just say next slide. So the reason I just want to present here tonight to kind of just go over what the goals are, and that will be the memo for the technical amendment, and then introduce a discussion, some responses for amending our text from the 2023 housing needs study, and hopefully get a recommendation or a consensus. That's not looking for action, just opening, giving you guys some things to digest here. The technical minor changes. This is the memo. This is items that were from staff since 2021. These are mostly just fixing typos, some inconsistencies, and then some minor changes. Pump that into the discussion here for the house. Slide. And so the responses for the housing, so we're looking at the needs from the housing needs study. So just a refresher, some of those things that are identified from that 2023 study was that township needs more housing, more affordable or accessible housing, smaller unit sizes, and then increasing housing within our existing impact. So how can these needs be met? So looking at things, amending the zoning ordinance to better respond to market demand by doing things such as allowing different types of housing in more places, increasing housing density in some locations, reducing the minimum area setback dimensional standards, and then potentially looking at amending some of the parking requirements for residential uses. Looking at some of the different housing in more places, the first item up there, this is something I know has been kind of out there before about allowing multifamily by right in the C2, C3. I would like to remove that one from the discussion. That's something that's kind of a higher hanging fruit, and we are working on our comprehensive plan right now. So that's something that should be moved further along in the discussion. There wasn't really anything from the housing needs study that sort of defined that. So just want to remove that one from the discussion for tonight. And the only other change to look at is potentially looking at multifamily by right within the R2 zoning district. The other item is looking at increasing housing density considerations. This is allowing more housing basically per acre density. The things that we could look at would be increasing density in the MU and R3 district. Left out the R2, R1, more just focusing smaller parts of the township, just in our kind of higher density areas for residential. Another consideration would be looking at maybe just doing a 50% reduction of these minimum requirements. We're looking at just removing all the density requirements while keeping some of the bulk and area requirements. So just to look at kind of where we're at now, next slide. So it's kind of our current density standards right now. I'm not going to go through all of these, but if you look at mixed use and R3, pretty similar. The only difference right now we allow for single family, then MU, which is our mixed use district, you can have 4 units single family per acre, and in the R3 you can have 6 units per acre. So just looking at the recommendation of just having that 50% reduction of current standards, can give you just looking at single family example, you can have 8 units per acre, or 13 units per acre for single family. Most of the other use types is pretty similar. I would note under R3 it is a typo for it would be 17 units per acre for the semi-detached, so not 7 units. So what does this look like? If you look at the next slide, you see the single family there on the left, that's over in Manheim Township. That is illegal right now in all our zoning districts and township by law. So that's on a lot of 4,791 square feet. And that also has off-street parking in the rear. So even a 50% reduction, that's actually slightly would still be not permitted even in our most dense districts.
Just give me how close are they?
Sorry?
How close are they, the homes? You have an estimate?
I'm not 100% sure. That would be maybe 5 feet to 4
10,
feet.
15.
Back line. So yeah, about 10 feet.
Yeah.
Roughly 8 to 10 would be my guess.
Use this example of Grandview Heights.
This is that. So I'm still learning the geography. But I'm right above Collins Park.
Yeah. So it's Grandview Heights. Yeah, that's the name. That's the name of that neighborhood. Yeah.
That's just an idea of just showing what's illegal. And then the semi-detached over in Lancaster City, that's something that's way off the allowed dense district. That also has off-street parking on the lot as well. That's just one example of many. I know we don't want to be here all night, but I just wanted to give you 2 to look at.
We want more of those.
Yeah, I'm actually house hunting right now. Like that'd be nice to have more of those. Okay, the next slide, please. So just density alone would not be enough. We'd have to look at some of these other standards. One of them would be lot width considerations. So something to look at is potentially having a 50% reduction of minimum lot width in the MU and R3 districts, and potentially removing the minimum lot width within the MU and R3. Those are just 2 different approaches that we could look at here. And kind of where we're at now. Again, the MU and R3 pretty similar for the most part. Having example, just looking at again, I'm just using single family at the top of the list. You have a 50-foot lot width, and then R3 is also 50-foot. And as you see with the 75-foot the front setback, the example of 50 feet would just be the minimum lot width from at the right of way, so basically at the road. So kind of like a pizza, if you cut off the very front, it's allowed to get a little wider so you get away from the road. So just with the recommendation, having that 50% increase there, or excuse me, reduction. I could bring that down to 25 for single family, 25 feet for single family. If you go to the next slide, again, just want to give you I like to give a more extreme example. That's a 12-foot wide row home, very narrow, but that's something, you know, even by reducing by 50% of how wide our lots could be, that is something that could potentially be allowed, or something a little bit closer to that. Even that 50% still not even getting that narrow for townhomes. Yeah, just an extreme example, and this would still have to meet all our building code standards, safety standards, things like that. Yeah, next slide. Another thing to look at is our setbacks. The suggestion would be to make the R3 more similar to the MU in village districts. And then also another suggestion would be maybe slight reduction for the R2 setbacks. So this again is where we're kind of looking at, and it's very hard to see, but this kind of shows where we're at now. So if you look all the way to the left of the MU, potentially look at R3 matching a little bit similar. And then potentially for the R2 district, having a reduced setback for 15 foot in the front, 20 foot in the rear for all the uses that would be permitted. Again, if we would look at allowing the multifamily, that would be something to consider what the setbacks would be. Next slide. You can skip that slide. And then another item to look at would be our max lot coverage areas, how much the property is being covered by usually impermeable surfaces, houses, driveways, walkways. So looking at consideration of potentially eliminating the max coverage areas in the MU or R3, or considering to just align the MU and R3 with the village districts, or a slight increase in the R2. And part of the purpose of the max coverage area is for stormwater considerations. So even if you eliminated this, you would still have to look at, okay, how do you manage the stormwater? So you're most likely, most properties you're not going to have just completely covered up over parking lots and buildings. But it would give developers a little more flexibility how to manage the stormwater. So looking at things like underwater stormwater facilities, putting things under parking lots, under buildings, the water goes. Just things to consider. Next slide. Here's just what our current standards are for the max lot coverage areas. So MU, you can go to 50% with buildings, 60% of all improvements of buildings with your driveways, parking lots. And then R3, 40%, 60% all improvement, and then R2 is. So just looking at, if you go to the next slide, for where it would be if you had none, no max coverage limitation, and then potentially looking at the R2, so that's our medium density of having that a little more similar to where the villages are, village districts, or just having an increase of max lot coverage areas where we're all aligned with how our village districts are for our more high dense. So that's looking at the 60% to 70% all improvements, and then a slighter increase for the R2. Then sort of our last consideration would be for the off-street parking. So the echo units, considering not having a park requirement for that, considering these are elderly people, maybe you don't want them to be driving, or giving more incentive for the echo units as well, give people more encouragement to do that. Potentially just reducing the off-street parking requirements, or even eliminating off-street parking requirements for just the residential uses in the more dense districts. This would leave things up more to the market. Typically, example, if you reduce these, developers are still going to respond to market demand where people are driving, and would give incentive potentially for affordable housing, but without having to do an affordable housing ordinance and going through those procedures where affordable housing, low income, let the market decide. And most of these considerations are, I would say, kind of the lower hanging fruits to look at before doing a whole ordinance change in response to our comp plan, but then probably later next year. This is just to address more of the housing needs. Again, these are all just things to consider. Open things for discussion. Questions?
Jacob, what's your timeline on these types of changes? Like, how long would it take to get these implemented?
So as soon as if they were to be passed, obviously it would have to be in January or February for the new board. It'd be pretty quick. I think Tara, what's the legal timeline?
The change written up, the text amendment written up, and then we would have to send that out to our neighbors and to the county, as well as our planning commission. Have them review it and comment on it, and then the board could take action.
There's like 45-day reviews.
Looking at the end of the first.
I want suggestions, this discussion.
Examples, workforce housing, housing that is, available for new things like that. And really looking at what are those prohibitive items that we have right now that might interfere with that. I appreciate you diving into that.
I appreciate the shift of talking about affordable housing, addressing it as workforce housing. Because we know the pressures even for a family of four, even if those individuals are $25 to $35 an hour range, up to buy a house, very tough. So.
One of those things that's driven up the price.
Yeah, I think we learned from the data that there were a lot of people that were sort of mismatched to their current home, right? Like, hopefully in a couple of years, both of my kids are out and, I'm sitting in a four home house with two of us, right? So, and I think we saw a lot of that in the data. So, those images of those Grandview Heights looking homes, which I, pointed out, a lot of them are 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom type homes that, are necessary. So I like where you're going. I'm hearing flexibility. I would love to hear, Ethan, you're the expert on these things. I'm hearing more flexibility and more market driven zoning. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, appreciate the presentation. I mean, the big sort of shift that I would love to sort of see the discussion shift towards, especially for the board, is not what do we want to allow, but what do we want to ban? Because currently we're banning these things. So this board and this entity, which is the township, has said we don't want these things. I don't think anyone's explicitly gone out and said, oh, we're but that's what our ordinance is saying. So it's one where we're not going to have the expertise to go through and say, we want this, and then we want this, we want this. It's one of, what are the things that we really, really don't want in a mixed use development or residential 3 development or residential 2 development? That's good guidance to give to staff of, we don't want this. And then it becomes, in my opinion, you loosen it up as much as possible to let the market respond. And in areas that have had, like Palisades Park in New Jersey, when they've never put in the strict banning of these types of housing, basically as housing turns over, 1-2% of those units every year get redeveloped and upgraded, and a large lot can become 2 lots. You can create a duplex or a triplex. When you open it up, this massive, and now everyone's going in and retooling a neighborhood. What you get is organic, slow increase in density over time. So I think on most of these, I'm all for, there's really no functional difference between our mixed use area and R3 from a residential standpoint. Like, why do you have 2 sets of rules there? And then parking requirements are, I was just in Austin, Texas, like almost half the cars on the road had no drivers in the car. And you could just call a robo taxi and it could pick you up. And it's that's coming in the next 5-10 years. That's going to be the reality, and people won't need cars and won't need parking at all. They'll just have a subscription and they'll be calling a Waymo. But there's already people now who don't have cars in those areas, and it's one of the person making and selling housing is going to be motivated to make a buck, and they're going to sell to meet the market demand. We shouldn't be telling them that how to do their job of reacting to that. So to me, we don't need any parking minimums anyway, anywhere. But I think people will, right now we have a policy that if you go above this, you have to come before the board, and people come before frequently, but we want more parking. So we've never had, I'd rather not get in the way. So on most of these, I would say great direction, keep rolling with it. But I mean, even density standards themselves aren't a really good mechanism for getting what you want or keeping out what you want to keep out. Those more force a type of design, again, on the developer to say, you need to make it this way, as opposed to them going, here's what the parcel looks like, here's the type of people I want to sell to, we can make it look this way. So density standards by themselves are, say, an inefficient tool to accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. Same with setback requirements. It's one. I just had a rental property that I sold this year, and it's just 476 square feet, single family home, rancher on its own lot with off-street parking and a nice yard. And it's one of, you can't build that. Ryan Homes in Texas is selling brand new single family homes with fully detached with off-street parking, $149,000 right now. So it's one of, if you want affordable housing, you can do it. You just have to adjust our rules, and guess what? The market can make a house and sell it and make a profit, and someone can move into a house for $149,000. The only thing stopping that from happening in our township is zoning ordinance. So, let's see. And I love, so I think the pictures are really helpful, because you look at that and we say we've got great old neighborhoods, and if they were burned down, we couldn't rebuild them under our current set of rules. And those are the places like, I like it, it's quaint, it's nice. That was the starter home. I grew up in that home. If we can't rebuild it, people should change to adapt to that. So that's my soapbox on most of these items. So yes, and more yes.
I'd say Ethan's soapbox is kind of where the planning world is kind of moving.
And your point on stormwater is the perfect one. I sort of half joke, but I'm serious, of like right now, the state regulations for stormwater are so onerous. If you can get through stormwater, I don't care, like meet the building code and meet the stormwater, we don't really need a whole lot else. So impervious coverage is the old way that we tried to manage stormwater, because we assumed it would run off into the grass and go into the ground. And then the government said that that's not how water works. And so if you can meet stormwater, I don't care how much asphalt you have, because you're incentivized to not put a lot. Any other feedback for Jacob or any questions?
Right. I'm here and talk, and it's a busy meeting, so.
And then the sooner we get some of these done, especially the MU zone, the sooner our Mr. Martin in the audience can build some housing over there.
Is this going to forward the board to discuss these changes, or is there another group within the township that's going to talk about this?
So it'll go through planning commission and other groups. Our neighboring townships will see it. The county planning commission will weigh in on it. So anytime there's a draft, everyone gets to see it and talk about it. But this group, this board will be the one that has the final approval.
One of the changes you're going, you can spend an entire 3-hour day discussing this. It's not going to be something you can do in a 2-hour session.
Yeah, and that's why we have an expert there, because we did a bunch of these long meetings with our housing study. We talked through what we could do as a result of that, pass those recommendations, says, here's what we want to see. Now staff go make that happen with pages of technical amendments that look like this, that no one will be able to understand when they're written.
We have this thing where the average cost of a house today is in this township, just for example, that if you made these changes, I think you would have much more affordable homes for people who are just they can't get anywhere near 300,000 or 500,000. But if you do something like what he's proposing, you're gonna make it a lot easier for people to purchase homes.
Yeah.
I think for developers to be profitable and doing it, hopefully you are seeing some price reductions, not necessarily in the Northeast and kind of where we are right now, but that could be coming and that would incentivize them.
So we're talking about a large tract of open land right now, not sticking a couple here and a couple there, and places like that.
Now, this would allow for.
What about open space requirements for new development that went with these figures? Is there gonna be a change there?
That would depend on any new development, what zone it was going in. So our housing study looked at where is there available land that is currently zoned to put housing in it.
I don't think you're saying a lot of.
Corey brought up the one section earlier of zoned R2 land next to his neighborhood. So it could potentially affect that, but your parks and recreation pieces, Termaine work.
Could happen on already developed land and be a redevelopment, could be new development on virgin land.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Because a lot of them are way too big these days. Way too big.
It's small.
Yeah. I got a great little condo, it's just me, but I'm happy with the size and cat likes it.
All right. We're gonna run into supervisor discussion items. Any updates on the tow policy false alarm fee from our ESC meeting?
So going back to the November 20th meeting of the Emergency Services Committee, and the Emergency Services Committee members actually asked for additional changes to both of those. So we're working through those in hope to have that back to the emergency services at their gym. And then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, well, not me, but yeah, report. No reports, updates on the alarm cleaning policy or park management.
Correct.
Item 11A. Ms. Gavel, we're going to open the hearing for the ordinance for adoption of the Business Improvement District Authority. Meeting is open. Hearing is open.
This ordinance is to establish the authority members, and the articles of incorporation. The authority members, which Ethan worked diligently at, are Brandon Martin of American Music Theater, representing 2425 Lincoln Highway East. Steve Sicking of Fulton Steamboat Inn, representing 1 Hartman Bridge Road. Christy Burkholder of the Shops at Rockville, representing 35 South Willowdale Drive. Zach Geig, I believe is how you say his last name, of Just Press Play, representing 2007 Lincoln Highway East, and Mahir Patel of Bronx Hospitality, representing 34 Eastbrook Road. All of those 5 individuals represent properties that are within the Business Improvement District, and they all meet one of the 3 requirements: a property owner, a business owner, an institution, museum, or theater. So what will happen next, if the board approves the authority, is the articles of incorporation and the ordinance will be sent to the Department of the State.
And that group will meet and start to figure out what they're going to do.
They'll follow the plan that's been established.
Any discussion on the ordinance adopting, signifying the intent to organize a municipal authority?
Great job on finding the 5 members. Thank you.
We're wrapped up with discussion. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
A motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Meyer, second by Mr. Gallagher. Public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to abstain. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance.
To adopt the ordinance, authority, what should I call it here? Business improvement, district with the 5 listed members ready to come on board.
Second. Motion by Mr. Rudd, second by Mr. Meyer. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those abstentions, motion passes. I'll now open the hearing for the ordinance for the adoption of the 2024 International Property Maintenance Code. The hearing is.
Supervisors originally adopted the 2012 IPMC International Property Maintenance Code. That is what is used for every property that is not single-family owner occupied for any type of maintenance issue that could be covered under there. And that is overseen by Jacob's department, as well as a third party that assists in doing those inspections. That ordinance is updated, or that document is updated to a 2024 standard. And so as the board has periodically done, adopted the new document.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing?
Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rudd. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I now entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance updating the property maintenance code.
A motion to adopt the International Property Maintenance Code, the 2024 edition.
Motion by Mr. Rudd, and second by Mr. Gallagher. Well, comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, the motion passes. It's a few less people at this meeting than when we first adopted it. All right, item 11C, approval of the sewer EDU transfer policy.
As the board may recall at your November meeting, I raised the fact that there's a few properties that have gone through this transfer. My associates has had 2 properties do this, as well as Rockvale. As we move forward, I believe there's going to be more of these types of transfers, and therefore having this policy in place will assist in moving through that process efficiently, as well as provide the township with an application fee of $150 and an administrative research fee. As we put quite an extensive amount of time into the research of most of those EDU transfers.
Okay, motion.
Motion to approve the new sewer EDU transfer policy.
Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Meyer. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those are abstentions, the motion passes. Item 11D, appoint Nick Wagner to fill the vacancy on the Industrial Commercial Development Authority. There's a vacancy by this guy. Signed, so I appreciate Nick stepping forward to serve.
Big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. All right, on to
I
motion.
make a motion to appoint Nick Wagner to fill the vacancy on the Industrial Commercial Development Authority.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Meyer, second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those are abstentions, motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. West. Item 11E, room's thinned out, but we have adoption of the 2026 budgets.
This would be for all budget funds. The sewer authority did take action at their December 10th meeting for the funds 07 and 09 and approved favorably. But this has been advertised. It's been available in the lobby for anyone to come take a look at. It's been available on our website. This does include a 10% increase in the millage rate.
Right. A motion to adopt the 2026 budgets.
Make a motion to adopt the 2026 budgets as presented.
Second. Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rudd. Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, the motion passes. Item 11F, resolution setting the 2026 real estate tax rate.
Like I just mentioned, the 10% increase in the millage rate would take the millage rate from 2.055 to 2.2605.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve increasing the millage rate from 2.055 to 2.2605, a 10% increase.
Motion by Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Thornton. Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Item 11G, approval of 2026 pay policy.
The pay policy is adopted by the board each year for all of those staff members that are not covered by the collective bargaining agreement. The pays are reflected in the budget that you just did.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the 2026 pay policy.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Meyer, second by Mr. Rutt. Public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any abstentions or opposition? Motion passes. Item 11H, resolution for township fees for 2026.
So that have changed are the sewer tapping fee, which was approved earlier in the year by the sewer authority from $2,650 to $4,058 per EDU. The Act 22 fees, which are established at $210 for the application, and that includes 1 hour of redaction. Each additional hour or portion thereof would be an additional $100. And then the EDU transfer that you just approved.
Motion.
A motion to approve the 2026 township fee schedule.
Second. Motion by Mr. Rutt, second by Mr. Thornton. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Abstentions? Motion passes. Item 11I, resolution for sewer rate fees for 2026 service.
The 2026 budget discussions, the board advised staff to look at a $5 increase per EDU for sewer rates beginning with 2026. That would put this in effect with 1/1/26, but it would not be charged until your April bill.
Yeah.
To accept the sewer rate fees for 2026 service as presented.
Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rutt. A public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, the motion passes. Item 12, managers report.
You all have the listing of public meetings for 2026. If you have no changes, then this will be sent to LNP tomorrow for next year. This is probably the third time I've given you this listing. And I know Corey and Ethan said,
I don't need it.
don't care.
Clear to me.
So we'll move forward with publishing that.
Any of stormwater.
So over the last 3 years, the sewer authority has authorized the videotaping of stormwater pipes to assess how they're functioning and their condition. In doing so, there's been a large number of pipes that need to be relined and or replaced. To the tune of $898,000 was the first contract that they awarded this year, and of that, approximately $200,000 has been spent. This will be an ongoing project. We allocate $100,000 each year to do the videotaping, and then we did that for 2 years before we started looking at the condition assessment. As we move forward, we see a number of pipes and linear length of pipes that will need to be replaced and or lined in the future, to a large number of that we have upcoming. Now, all of that is paid for through the stormwater fund. Which is that project going on.
So the 890,000, that reflects 2 years of camera inspection.
That's correct.
And which 2 years?
That would have been 23 and 24. Now that is just lining. Right,
Was put lining.
right. The one great thing that's been happening with the inspection is our public works staff can take a look at that. And we also, we include the roads that are to be paved for the following year so that any conditions that need to be addressed immediately can be, so that the road can be paved and that the stormwater pipe underneath is taken care of.
Did North Bay do the evaluation?
No, we do contract that out with USG. Okay, if I move on.
Go ahead.
Okay, Willow Road Culvert, that is moving into a pre-construction meeting this week. So we were able to get everything signed through the engineer. The design is complete, ready to move into construction in January. Weather permitting.
And those road closures and detours.
Right, that would be 3 months of road closure and detours, yes.
And how else do we inform, obviously, all the fire companies? Not everybody will be there all the time, but who knows who could be helping?
So they've already been informed twice, actually.
Okay.
The police department's been informed, the fire companies have been informed. We'll also send a notice through the 911 system.
Any final public comments that we didn't get to?
Honor to serve.
Yes, sir.
Deeper one part of me. First off, I want to thank Corey and Ethan for their time with us. Truly appreciate them serving on the Emergency Services Committee. We've had some good conversations. And to the staff and all the other supervisors, we thank you for the service that you provide and also the support to the fire company. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second, is by Mr. Meyer, second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those for saying